Have you ever done something the wrong way for so long that you didn't realize that you were doing it the wrong way? Well, that's the way I was. You see, for years, I used this tool the wrong way. And in today's video, I want to talk about how using this tool the right way can make your life so much easier. As a safety manager, as somebody that's busy and has a lot of things going on, you need to pay attention to this video because this can help put your safety management system on autopilot. Yeah, that's right. You can actually put it on autopilot. And we're going to unpack and explain what this means. So stick around to the end because I want to show and walk you through a scenario that I use this tool for, and it will make your life so much easier. Let's dive in. Well, hey friend, David Sawyer here. I want to talk to you today about how you can get more done in less time. Sound good? Sound like a myth, like some pie in the sky? Well, it's not. It actually can be done, and you can use this tool to help you get more done and make less mistakes. And you might be wondering, what is this tool? Is it a new app? Is it a new software? Is it AI? No, it's none of those. It's actually just a checklist. Now, don't cut off the video just yet. Trust me, this is worth your time. You see, I'm in the process of reading a book called The Checklist Manifesto. And what it came highly recommended to me. And I'm in the process of reading through it. I'm not all the way through it yet, but I wanted to share some nuggets that I found in this book that made it really worth my time. I've already got a lot out of it, and I haven't even finished it yet. But the Checklist Manifesto is all about making sure that you have a checklist in place so that you don't overlook the details. Now, those of you that know me know I hate paperwork. I hate it. And I don't want to add a checklist that's not going to be important. And so for years, I just avoided checklists. Or, I was so used to managing people, and I saw the way checklists just got pencil whipped. And I hate that. Like, that goes against my moral code. I do not want to just check something off and sign my name to it. It doesn't make me feel right. It's not the right thing to do. And that tends to be what checklists turn into. And then I realized it's because I'm doing the wrong kind of checklist. You see, there are 4 items that a checklist needs to be helpful. And in the world of safety, this is never more true. You can make a checklist incredibly helpful if you add these 4 pieces. So I want to explain a scenario, okay? I was at a safety, I was with a safety manager. I was at their site going through their maintenance shop. And so I want to use this checklist as a reflection of how you can create a safety inspection checklist. Now, you can use checklists for all kinds of stuff. But in this example, I want to stay focused on doing a safety inspection and how you can use a checklist to make this process automatic. And when I say automatic, I don't mean turning your brain off. I mean, you know what steps come next. It just kind of flows from one thing to the next. But before we get to that, let's talk about the 4 things that a checklist needs to actually be worth its weight. Otherwise, it's just paperwork. And I don't want to do paperwork, and you don't want to do paperwork. So when we're talking about a checklist, what we need to do is determine the goal. What are we trying to accomplish? Well, oftentimes a checklist is there to make sure we don't forget something. So that's the first point. If you're going to do a checklist, you got to have a clear pause point. Now, a clear pause point means this is when I do it. When we talk about forklift inspections, we usually say a forklift inspection needs to be done pre-shift, meaning right at the beginning of the day, at the beginning of the shift. That's when the forklift inspection needs to be done. You don't have to do a safety inspection at the beginning of the shift, but there should be a clear time when you do that. Now, I read a book a few years ago about habits. I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head. I know some of you guys will remind me in the comments, but it's a very well-known book, and it's by James Clear, and it talks about how a habit has to have a time when you start it, meaning if I'm going to brush my teeth, I do it the same time every day, right? Twice a day, morning, night, maybe 3 times a day if I do it at lunchtime. But I have a clear time when I do it. And there's something that they call habit stacking, where you stack other habits on top of the habits you have, because you know when you brush your teeth, so you can add in, hey, you know what I'm going to do at the same time? I'm going to do 10 push-ups, or I'm going to floss, or I'm going to, and you tie in the habits so that it becomes just an automatic part of what you're doing. Well, when we talk about a clear pause point, your day is busy. So what I've discovered is if you're going to do a safety inspection, make sure it's tied into a normal routine of the day. Hey, I'm going to do this before lunch every day. I'm going to do this after lunch every day. I'm going to do this after our meeting every day. Have a clear time when you're going to go do the safety inspection. It's a clear moment in time where you say, hey, this is the time I'm going to do it. If you just do it randomly and you say, I'll do it when I feel like it, I'll do it when I see something needs to be done, it's not going to get done consistently. And a checklist needs to be done consistently. That's the difference between an amateur and a professional. And you, friend, are a professional. So let's make sure that we have a clear pause point. This is the time when we go, you know what? Now's when we do it. Now's when we do it. So a clear pause point helps you identify when the checklist needs to be done. Now, the second thing it needs to be, and this is one I love, it needs to be speedy, meaning you should be able to do this checklist in 1 minute. Yep, you heard me right. You should be able to do the checklist in 1 minute. Now, the inspection might take you more than a minute, but the checklist doesn't. If you have a checklist that's more than 1 page long, it's too long. It needs to be short. It needs to be brief. It needs to be clear. It needs to be speedy. So I'm going to get this thing done in a minute, and it ain't going to be a problem. Now, keep in mind, the inspection and the checklist are 2 different things. So the inspection is, I'm going to walk around and I'm going to look for items that I need to make sure they're in place. And that might take me a little bit of time to walk around my department or my facility and do the inspection. But the actual inspection checklist, boom, I can fill it out really quickly, less than a minute, ideally. Now, the third piece of the puzzle is it needs to be a checklist that's supplemental to your knowledge. It has triggers in it that make you think of things that have happened. So, the checklist isn't meant to be the training itself. If the checklist is the training itself, that's something else. This checklist needs to be an inspection to verify what you've talked about and what you've trained is being done. So think of it like this. Is a fire extinguisher hanging on the wall? Yep. I don't need to explain why the fire extinguisher is hanging in this area. I don't need to have a paragraph worth of explanation before the check. I know what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for a fire extinguisher hanging on the wall. The gauge, it's got the arrow pointing in the green. It's not blocked. It's been inspected annually by an outside company. Like, there's ways you can say fire extinguisher, and then you know what to check. It's a trigger so that you know I've already got the supplemental information in my brain. I don't need that supplemental information on the worksheet. And that's what I meant when I get into going back in time to just a few minutes ago when I'm talking about a checklist becomes something that people just go check, 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 check. It's because when they do that, they're thinking, okay, I need to have 5 different boxes here. One for it hanging on the wall, one for the gauges in the green, one that it's got a sign over top of it, one that it's not blocked, and one that it's been inspected by an annual company. And so you turn that one check into 5 versus having a checklist where you simply say, fire extinguisher, check, and then you can explain, fire extinguisher, X, it was blocked. And then we check it, and we fixed it, and we corrected it right there when we did it. So I just wanted to kind of explain that a little bit because it needs to be a trigger. It needs to be a bullet point. The checklist should be something quick that you know, that you see, that you can fix. It's right, it's wrong, yes, no, black, white. It's clear. That's what it needs to be. Now, the fourth part is it's got to be field tested and updated. And getting back to the idea of continual improvement. This checklist should not be over a year old. This thing should be evolving and improving, and it can be kept simple and straightforward, and you can still make it better. So it needs to be field tested, meaning I should be able to do this. Now, let me explain kind of how I envision this working for you, because this is how it worked for me. If you're a manager and you're over multiple departments, as a safety manager, oftentimes you get asked to do an audit of the facility or an inspection of the facility. And it's really easy for the owner of the company or the CEO or the president to say, hey, we want to do a full wall-to-wall safety inspection. And when I do those, and I do them all the time, trust me, this is something I do quite frequently for companies where they bring me in to do a mock OSHA audit. And I go through the company with a fine-tooth comb and I look for everything, every single issue. But what I've found is you see the same things over and over and over and over and over again. And so when you see that, and I go from the shipping department into the production department, into the maintenance department, into the staging department, into the quality department, and I see multiple chemicals that aren't labeled correctly, I see the opportunity for a checklist. I see multiple fire extinguishers that aren't mounted right. I see exits that are blocked. I see ladders that aren't stored correctly. These are items that you can put on a checklist. And so the way that I carve this up is in my company, when I was working as a safety manager, I had the company broken into different departments and different zones with different managers. And I had a safety checklist for each department. Now, stay with me. Safety checklists didn't have more than, at the most, it had 10 items. Most of them had 5 to 7 items on it. And those items were, and let's think back to the maintenance department for a minute. If I walk in the maintenance department, I want to make sure I got lockout, tagout equipment that's accessible to my people, right? I want to make sure that my materials, my ladders, my pallets, my boxes, my compressed gas, these things are stored secure, so they're not going to fall over or have a problem. I want to make sure that my team members, that my employees in that area are wearing the correct PPE. Okay, so right there we got 3. Focused on exits, making sure evacuation exits are clear. And then you might go through and you go, you know what, when we walk through this maintenance area, this eye wash station's always blocked. So I might not have eye wash stations on anybody else's stuff, but I'm going to put eye wash stations on their stuff because I want to make sure that eye wash station is being maintained. Now, when I put eye wash station on the checklist, it doesn't just mean eye wash station. Yes, it is there. It means, is it blocked? Has it been flushed regularly? Is it clean? Would I want to stick my face in there and wash my eyes out on it? So make sure that your checklist is hitting these points. And then if you say, this is the checklist, what I love to do is turn that checklist into a sign and have that sign on the wall. So this is the hack that I was telling you about. If you take that information that's in your brain and you say, you know what, we did a safety inspection and we found out that the safety inspection, we were having problems with chemical labeling and we were having problems with compressed gas cylinder storage. Boom, I take that information, I stick it up on a sign. And that way you clarify the expectations so that department knows these are the safety items that we expect to be in shape, right? We expect you to be wearing the right PPE. We expect you to have access to your lockout tagout. We expect you to have your fire extinguishers ready to go. Going down that list. Forklifts. We expect the forklift checklist to be done. We want to make sure fall protection, harnesses, and lanyards are being inspected. So you can add more to the checklist, but if you hit the main things for that department, you should be able to make a checklist that's between 5 and 10 at the most. Most are between 5 and 7 items. You stick those up on the wall. Not just on a regular 8x11 piece of paper, but make a sign that's big enough that catches people's eyes. Then you know, hey, I'm holding you accountable. These are the expectations. And when we say, you know what, we don't have the right ladders. David, you have here that we need to have ladders inspected, but we don't have the right ladders. then the company's got to provide the right equipment to the employees. But that establishes the expectation. So you put the expectations clear on the wall. The manager does a regular routine safety inspection. And then you, as a safety manager or an owner of a company, can walk around and you can go, hey, why isn't that guy wearing his earplugs? It's on the sign. There needs to be a follow-up. There needs to be a corrective action in place. So checklists get a bad rap. And for years, and I'm not just talking like a couple years, I'm talking about like over a decade, I hated doing checklists. And the reason I hated doing checklists is because I just saw them as, I know what needs to be done. I don't need to look at this and check the box. But the key is, if I don't have that checklist of 5 to 7 things, the people that walk in that area every single day, they walk in that area and they go, looks pretty good. And they don't even realize that the electrical cabinet's wide open and that there's, knockouts taken out of it and exposed wires. So I say this kind of tongue in cheek. You want the checklist to be triggers so that people in that area know what's expected and they know what they need to do. Companies work so much smoother when people know what's expected of them and that they're being provided with the right equipment. So take what we talked about today. I'm going to give you a quick rundown here. We want to make sure, number one, the checklist has a clear pause point. Number two, it needs to be speedy. This is not something that's 20 pages long. It should be less than 1 page long. Number three, it should be supplemental information. So meaning you already know the main things. You already know what you're looking for. Now I just have a bullet point that tells me, don't forget about this. Don't forget about this. Don't forget about this. And then the last thing is field tested, updated. And I'll add to that right now because I meant to add to that when I was jotting down that note card. Do not forget to use past experience in this checklist. Case in point, if you have a loading dock where you have people that are loading trucks, we want to make sure that the wheels are chalked. We want to make sure that the driver isn't handed the information until after the load has been loaded. We want to make sure that everybody operating the equipment in that area has been trained and authorized. We want to make sure we're using the right equipment for the job so we're not using the wrong type of forklift to load a truck. There's all things to be just going down that list and go, okay, boom. Now, wait a minute, David, why did you talk about making sure that the right piece of equipment's being loaded? Because we had an accident where somebody used the wrong truck. They used the wrong forklift to load a truck, and we had an accident. Nobody got hurt, but it was an incident. It cost a lot of money and damage and lost time because people were cleaning up a mess that didn't have to be made in the first place. So this checklist is a great way to keep your team safe. Until we talk again, read the book, The Checklist Manifesto. I think you'll appreciate it. And if you don't, at least take these 4 things that we talked about today and apply them. Do everything you can to keep the people you work with safe because no one should get hurt at work.